Alright, well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the legendary Founding Titan. And I said a while ago that I would do the Halo Wars 2 tier list, and it's not realized today I didn't do that yet. So, here we're going to be doing just that. Now, I'm not as familiar with each individual leader, I would say, as I am with the Leader Overhaul mod, as there is a few leaders that I generally do not play that much. So we might need to, well, I might need correctional help down the line. Um, as I state, I don't think I am as familiar with each leader as I am with the Leader Overhaul mod. I play Halo Wars 2 more than the Leader Overhaul mod itself, but there's 16 leaders, and there's some leaders I generally don't play that much. Some of them being like Kitsano. Uh, I don't play Isabel that much. Anders is another one. Yap Yap, Shipmaster, and Arbiter, all being accountable for this. However, I think with the games I have played with all of them, I think I can come around and make a tier list and maybe have some decent judgment on it. So, if you guys have a different opinion, of course that's always going to happen with a tier list, but I would also love to hear what you guys would say about this one, because this one I'm not as confident about as I am with the Leader Overhaul mod. So bear that in mind. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm gonna go UNSC first and Banished second. There's also, well, and I'm gonna keep going back and forth between the two. So I will note, Banished I do believe are generally better. Um, as I personally believe that they have better like anti counters. Like the Reavers are better than Wolverines, the Hunters are better than the Cyclops, and Rays are even great against tanks as well. So yeah, I generally do think, and not to mention the powers are also a lot better alongside the leaders. So I do think the Banished are generally better. Not to say that there's not going to be any high tier Unit C people. There definitely is some deserving. But just note that for the majority, I do think the Unit C do fall under line of the Banished due to the lack of powers, laser beams, and just the Banished have it a lot better with leaders' powers and even anti like vehicle and air units. So, you know, there's a lot to it. Um, so I also want to mention that this tier list, there is only 5 letters. The bottom is D. And you might be thinking, where are the lower? Where's F? Where's anything else? Well, in general, I don't think there really is that many um, bad picks. Honestly, I could have probably still put one for like an F for the enjoyability department, but around this level, there is that's basically as low as you can go. So that's pretty much F for this list, essentially. So, but there can be people in S tier with higher value. So, for instance, if I placed Forge here and then placed like Cutter here, technically Cutter would have a higher. Like I would say that Cutter would have a higher power creep than Forge, but they still are belonging in S tier. They're just slightly higher in S. So there is no F tier. I don't think there's anyone I would say is flat out bad. I will say there is some people that are flat out bad when it comes to fighting their, I guess, counter leader. Like if they're fighting the leader that is meant to counter them, then of course it's not going to be as good. But that's, yeah, very situational, though. So, without further ado, let's start placing them in. So, first off, I kind of want to start out with, I think for now, I'll start out with Isabella. So, Isabella is one of the people I don't play that much. But what I've seen of her, she is very, very good into counterplaying, into the Scorpion Nightingale strategy. The holograms are a great option to use in battle. Being able to divert firepower from units, turrets, etc. I think Isabella definitely has a lot of cool abilities, unique abilities, very powerful. Her leader, I believe, is it Alice, right? I'm trying to think. It's either Alice or Douglas. Okay. Sorry about that. What? I had no idea. I was so confused. It is Alice. Okay. I want to make sure of that because I wasn't. I completely forget sometimes between who has Douglas and who has Alice. So my mistake there. But I do think Alice is a bit worse than Douglas. I think Douglas just has a lot more firepower with his rocket launcher. And Alice is more generally built to kill infantry, which is not even really a problem for UNSC. Sniper guys are so overpowered. They can kill even hunters in like mere seconds. So I do think Douglas takes the cake in the leader department, but the overall like power for Isabel, I do think I'll have to place in like I want to say A tier. Actually, I do think she's pretty good in just countering because of the fact that, let's say for instance they build a Scarab. Well, you can turn that Scarab against them. She also has like the second best tanks in the game when it comes to the UNSC side of things. She has like the second best tanks because they have like heavy shields. I think they have a slightly stronger shrapnel shot, and they also have the shielded Nightingales, which no one else has. I do think Isabella, I don't think she's like crazy overpowered or anything. I do think she is like mid-range between B and A, I would say. I'm gonna put her at B. I think just because comparatively, I don't see her going much higher than a lot of the Banished and a lot of the UNSC as well. So, however, for enjoyability, I actually have a lot of fun with Isabella. I would say enjoyability would be about here. Yeah. I think enjoyability, I think I would place her there. At 7. I find her really fun to play. I think she just has a lot of unique ways to play. Because she can't, you can, use her with air, you could use her with, ground very effectively because of the shielded Scorpions and Nightingales kind of gives you that edge over everyone else. And having more durable support units that can heal your army is always going to be good. So I'm going to leave her there. I think Isabella is going to be pretty nice in that tier right there. So we'll go into the Banished. So Banished, I'll pick up my boy Pavium. People think that Pavium is the worst because of the fact that his one ability doesn't work properly. His one ability that gives him resources. Because the third upgrade's so bad to the point that even if you have everything in the power wheel fully maxed out and you have a point available and you didn't unlock tier 3 of it yet, you still don't want to unlock it because it doesn't change anything. It only costs more and that's it. So it makes it just generally worse to use or pick up ever in the game. And because of that, people think that the Mega Turret, you know, like his Mega Turrets are cool and all, but it strips them of resources and there's not much of a payoff for it. And to all that, I say, why are you building Mega Turrets anyway? If you're building it on your first base, I don't understand why. You should never be building it on your first base, in my opinion. I think he works as for him specifically. I think if you're gonna place Mega Turrets, you gotta place on your second or third base when you already have a good amount of resources building up. When you're in the mid game to late game stage, you should never be rushing Mega Turrets, in my opinion. It just strips you way too much of resources, which they are correct on. But you're not supposed to, I don't think you're supposed to build it early on. I mean, of course, before when they actually, when his resources ability worked properly, yes, you could do that. But now you kind of want to wait till like the second or third base, I'd say, when you do have a general good amount of resources. But Pavium is not F. He is not F. I don't see where people are getting this from. I do not see him going below. I can maybe see C tier for certain strategies. If you're trying to rush with him, no, it's not going to work either. Because he also has a very slow leader. However, with his leader being so overpowered with health, with him being able to heal, you can lock him in the base. You can let him heal the base if your base is in trouble. He's very powerful in the sense that he can, destroy tanks very effectively, infantry very effectively, air very effectively. He can even slow down Uber units. He can, like, if a Condor is moving on, like, if a Condor is moving near him, he can actually use his Y ability and slow it down. And still do a little bit of damage with it as well. And a max level Pavium can, I won't say he can solo a Condor, but he can shred that motherfucker very, very quickly. His Wraith Invader tanks are also very effective. They're basically just the same. They act the same as Jerome's tanks. Maybe not as good, but they are very effective still. Especially since you also have the stronger counterplay units being Hunters. I think Hunters are better than Cyclops. I'm not sure if that's true, but I do think they are. Just a consistent DPS. I noticed them a lot more in the battlefield. They also have a lot more. I think they have a lot more health. And I find them just being able to mix Hunters, Grunts, and Elite Rangers together in his Wraith Invaders while he's able to heal. You get some Engineers on top of them, which Engineers, by the way, if they're using their Y ability, they can reduce a lot of damage. I want to say it's like 34% or 40%. I don't remember. I don't remember the percentage it said it was. But it's damage reduction regardless, making his Wraith Invader tanks just as good as Jerome's in durability, maybe even better, with the Engineers on top of that. And they also have shields. They also have the lifesteal ability from the Wraith Invaders. The Wraith Invader has a basic attack that allows it to siphon health which is very good. Honestly, if I'm going to be placing this guy anywhere, I'm going to have to say... Now, I don't think he's, like, generally, like, in the super high tiers, but I do think with his late game potential, with his Wraith Invader tanks, if played right with engineers and everything, he also has some great abilities. He has, the Lich Vanguard, which is amazing. Comes in, does a lot of damage, tanks a lot. He can even use it as a deployment in the battlefield, using it as a barracks. Being able to build anything right then and there is also very good. Has a huge, massive laser storm that he calls down, doing a massive amount of damage. He also has some great passives with his full salvage, which will like heal his buildings and everything over time. I think he is greatly underestimated, and again, I don't think he goes in the top tier, but I definitely think he's in like the mid range. I'd probably have to say, he definitely doesn't go down here, I don't think, but I think he's gonna have to go here in high beat category. I think he kind of sits the same way with Isabel. I think they kind of both sit at the same spot. I think he's just really underestimated. He has a really great abilities. He's able to, if someone's attacking your ally's base, I would want Pavium over most others to help me, because the Lich Vanguard, mixing that with his huge, blazing ability that his lasers come down. He can also use his little sonar ability, which it only detects, but technically it does a little bit more than that, because if it's looking at something, anything that's in that range of his sensor takes more damage. So, because of Pavium's abilities, you might need to back off the entire engagement altogether, because they're just so strong. So even if he's across the map, he can still help his allies very effectively with his powers. The Lich Vanguard alone can very easily interrupt and stop a fight. And if he has a Mega Turrets on his second or third base, protecting your allies as well, that's even more protection for them. He's very defensive, he's very supportive. In a one-on-one situation, I can see you saying Pavium is lower. But this tier list doesn't really involve that too much. It's really just full potential, and I do think his full potential is around here. I do think he does suffer a bit in 1v1s, I will say. Just because he's so slow. He's a big lumbering tank. Although that can be countered by just placing him in a Wraith Invader tank, but still, it takes a lot for you to get there, so you could be very easily rushed until then. But again, I think he's more of a situational character, which is why I think B tier kind of fits him the best. For enjoyability, I love playing him. It's 10 for me. I love playing Pavium. Pavium is one of the most fun characters to ever play. He just does a lot. He really does. He does a lot for me. I love his Super Turtle play style. Just being a big lumbering tank. And when you get to level 3, man, it's so insane how powerful he really is. He can shred just about anything very effectively. And the fact that he can play a role on Uber units by slowing them down so they can't get away, yeah, pretty nuts. I forgot to mention, he also has Ultra Mines, which are huge, mines that cover the battlefield. You can place them every 20 seconds or something, this seems like. I don't know what it actually is, but you can just place them all over the place and just defend your base that way as well. Yeah, I think Pavium is really great. I think with the 1v1 being in play, to his one weakness, and I do think His slow speed can make him very vulnerable, and his late game potential can make him very vulnerable to a rush. I do think those things are the things that do lower him a bit, but I think a good map. I do think a Pavia master player, like a person that's completely, is amazing with him. Basically, I do think they could do some insane plays with him. As Pavium is really good. I think I said everything I can for him. So let's move on to. I guess we'll move on to Serena. Serena is. Serena's weird. Of how she works. I don't think she's like. I don't think she's bad. In the 1v1 category, she most definitely suffers, though. Ooh. I don't really know for Serena. I think for Serena, I'm going to place her in. I want to say C tier. I just don't. It's just on her own. I think she's very bad on her own. But she's an amazing support. That's the thing. I don't even think she's really that great in a 2v2 either. But a 3v3 where she could really pop off. Because she has like some of the biggest AoE abilities in the game. But they just freeze though. But that can be very effective. When you place Glacial Ravine, like her massive ability down, her giant ice cubes down, you put her hero unit in, that's a lot of freezing effects, and it will freeze even Uber units very effectively. But it's kind of hard to do that though, because her hero unit's very slow, vulnerable to choppers, because choppers do a lot of damage and they ram things. And she doesn't like a stun like Forge does. Her stun's like an overtime thing, which takes a minute to build up. She's definitely great for contesting the nodes as well, though, because of the fact that they freeze everything. I don't know, though. If it was a support tier list, I would place her way higher. Because I think she does do great for supporting. I mean, all her siege weapons do freeze. Actually, do they? Oh no, yeah, they do. No, I was thinking of a Kasano, because Kasano's, despite her being a fire person, she hasn't used fire siege, which is one thing I don't like about her. No, she does. Yeah, Serena does use frost siege. So yeah, she has frost siege. She has frost towers. Everything for her tower that her bases are like frozen. So she's one of the better defensive characters when it comes to Unit C. But the problem is, defense for the Unit C is not good. Not really. When you compare it to the Banish, it's not even close. I find her as a worse version of Pavian when it comes to lockdown. Her Frost Ravens are pretty interesting, but they're not really that good. A whole army of them can make it very annoying for any Uber units, vultures, and stuff like that. Even tanks. It can be very annoying for all of those. But again, I don't think she does anything much on her own. If she's in a 3v3, she really pops off, in my opinion. Like, in a 3v3 with her support, I would say like A tier, but because of the I think she even struggles in a 2v2, honestly. Just because if they're banished, they're just gonna rush her. And she can't really do much for her allies in a, like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, I just think in a 3v3 situation, it's better because there's a lot more units to freeze. There's just a lot more units for her to freeze, and that's where she really pops off at. Because she, like I said, she has some of the biggest AoEs in the game. But not always in 2v2 do you find yourself in a situation where you need to use them. In a 3v3, most of the time, yes, you will have to use all of them. I don't know. It's so hard for me to rate her without putting bias into it, because I love playing Serena. But ultimately, I hate to say this about, like, I would probably say my second or third favorite UNSC character, but I'm gonna have to probably place her at C. I think she's just very situational. I just think she's only really great for support. I think she's really great for that. She's really good for that. She's even good for a Terminus Firefight if you ever played that. Really pops off in that. But in terms of, like, PvP and everything, I don't know. I think she's just situational, so I'll place her in the C category. I'm gonna place her at 8, around 8 for enjoyability. I find her to be very enjoyable. I love playing Serena. I think Serena is very fun to play, but I don't think she's really that great outside of 3v3 situations. Honestly, that's why I gotta say about that one. Let's leave it there for now. I mean, part 2 is gonna be like right after this, so just a cutting thing for me. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2. So, where did we leave off with? So we got 2 UNSC, so we're gonna go to the next Banish leader, which I think the next one's gonna have to be. Let's talk about Vordis, I guess. So, so for Vordis' case, I don't play him that much either. Let's do that real quick. I don't play him that much, but I don't even really need to know that he is absolutely insane. Not only does he have, like, I would say probably the second best scarab out of the 4, because there is 4 different, I think it's like 4 or 5 different variants. There's the Colony Scarab with Skitters on it. I think that one's the best. Then there's Decimus with his Lifesteal Scarab with a bit more damage. And then there's the regular Scarab along with the Vordis Scarab. And I think Vordis' Scarab is ultimately the best, second best to Colony. More damaging than Colonies, though, because of the fact of the Volatile Mass ability he has for his ultimate. Allows a Scarab to just spread that stuff everywhere. And you can just do a massive amount of damage, draining bases, armies, etc. His leader's also very damaging. He's very tanky. Not as tanky as Decimus Warlord, but still pretty strong. He has the early game economy if he rushes, because even a few grunts rushing a generator of the enemy can really give you a huge head start with economy. So Vordis is very overpowered because of the fact that you can rush and you could probably gain more out of that attack than you actually losing it, even if you do lose all your troops. Because every single time with the bandit raid ability, you're able to gain resources with everything you hit, which is really overpowered. He also has the Grenader guys, which also spread those volatile mass attacks very quickly as well. It's ridiculous how much damage this guy does, along with the fact that he also can just gain so much early game economy even when he's rushing. And that's what ultimately makes him just a very terrifying threat. On top of that, he also has, like I said, the second best Scarab, which is just really, really strong. And with all these notes, he's great early game, great mid game, and even better late game. This guy might just be one of the strongest characters in the entire game, I'd say. He's definitely S, no doubt. He honestly seems very fucking broken. Very fucking broken. Just because of the fact that you could gain more out of a rush than just regularly building up. It's honestly kind of stupid to me, but I don't think it was meant to be like that, but they left the game before they could ever fix it. So we're left with an overpowered as fuck character that can gain more resources while doing a rush than he would if he was just sitting on his ass and building up, which doesn't make any sense. He gains more out of a rush than he loses, even if he fails the attack. And that's ultimately my problem with him, is the fact that he can just abuse his bandit raid ability so much. That bandit raid ability alone makes him like A tier. With all his abilities on top of that, with his leader and his other abilities being just as powerful, his mail throw ability is also really good with other leaders. Combining it with a laser beam or something can eviscerate an entire army very quickly. He's broken. There's no doubt about that. He is busted. At the very least, he is like S minus. But no, he's S plus. He is fucking ridiculous. As far as agility ability goes, I'd say he's mid-range average. Personally, I don't really like his I don't really like his playstyle nearly as much as the others, because his whole thing is just rushing pretty much, and using a volatile mass thing is just... I mean, the main thing is he's just overpowered as hell. There's not really much to say about it. Like, I don't really like using overpowered characters, honestly. Well, at least overpowered characters that are just completely broken by every stretch of the imagination. And he does that. Like, the fact that you gain so much resources while rushing is just so dumb. I mean, you can easily get a second base up and still keep up with economy just like everyone else, even while you're rushing. Because you just gain so much from it. It's so dumb. Yeah, absolutely fucking broken. Just absolutely, like, he's no doubt probably the best character in the entire game. I'm just gonna say it right now. He's probably the best. There's just not many downsides to him, if any. Since he's also banished, he also has really powerful counterplay units, so not much you can really do against him, and he also has some of the best power in the game. So, as far as passives and stuff go, yeah, he is utterly broken. Just broken. Not even overpowered. He's overpowered while also being busted, broken, whatever you want to call it. He's just all things broken. That's all I gotta say about him. That's it. Decimus. Well, actually, let's go to Unicy again. Kasano. Kasano is weird. She has great infantry killers. She's got great building killers. She's got decent... Actually, no. Her hero's great against all forms of ground. But while she's also UNSC, UNSC already have some trouble against air, which is why Decimus Banshees is very hard to fight against a lot of times. because a lot of people do like Unice more. And Decimus Banshees can very easily get the edge because Unice typically have weaker air counters. Kasano doesn't really have any abilities or powers that can really give her the edge against air. And that's ultimately where she falls in. She does amazing into ground, like infantry and vehicles, but air will crush her. She doesn't really have anything to really look forward to in like late game either. Like all of her units are practically early to mid game, whereas a lot of other people's characters have like late game potential and all that. She doesn't. She doesn't really have that much to call her own in late game. It's not to say she's bad. I find her extremely situational though. Against every banished character, she just falls flat because of her being Unice. Like I said before I started this tier list, banished are typically way stronger because of all their powers that they have. Combining that with the fact that she's Unice, she has weak powers against anything that's air, which air is one of the biggest problems when you're playing as Unice. I think Unice definitely struggle the most against air because they do have great infantry counters. They got decent ground combat counters, like against tanks and stuff. Air is their biggest weakness, I say, though. Not all the time. I mean, Combat Tech Marines with Wolverines is not a bad strat, and Vultures are also a good unit to use, as they can, if they have a horde of Banshees, they can really take out like 2 or 3 Banshees with one barrage, if not more. However, anyone can use these strategies, and Kasano doesn't have any abilities that can really hit air that much. So, whereas she is amazing with killing ground, her air defense is just very lackluster, and I can definitely see her being abused by that. If she's in a one-on-one, she might actually be better in a one-on-one situation, only because of the fact that she can shred your bases very quickly, and you would, like, the other person would want to build a lot of counters to you because they know you're going to try to rush them with Flame Hogs or, Hellbringers, her leader, whatever, etc. So she is very powerful in that sense for fear factor, but as soon as air comes online, she's got a tough time. And late game, she doesn't scale that well either. She has she doesn't have anything that's, really insane. She doesn't have any good, super powerful passives. I mean, she has that one passive where she gets movement speed and damage increase, but that's not enough to counter, someone like Colony, where they have, combat repair, where they heal in battle. They have, the increased... Well, they have... Colony himself is incredibly tanky. Decimus especially has, a bunch of, increased damage, siphon steal of health, can do even more damage with his other ability. I forget what it's called, but can even do more damage with that. There's a lot of banished heroes that just have either overpowered passives, actives. Their leaders can take out a lot on their own as well. Kasano, whereas, like I said, she's not bad against ground. She's amazing against ground. Her leader can shred an entire army of ground because it scales off of percentage of health. It's insane. So yeah, she is great for that, but air, and with the powers not being in her favor that much, and her leader can't even hit air either, so she's definitely the weakest character in the game against air. One of the weakest. I'd say she's D tier. I'd say maybe around this tier, because she does have some situations she can go a little bit higher in, against ground. But yeah, I'm gonna leave her there though. I don't think she can do much against those air factions or air in general. She just does not have much capabilities against air because, like I said, Unice can have very high trouble against air already, and she's especially weak against it because she has no powers against it. She has nothing that can really hold her own against it at all. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave her there. Enjoyability, I'd say I don't like her as much as Serena. I'll put her the same tier as Pavium. I'd probably say around like 5. I like her hero unit, but outside of that, she also has really fun and cool looking abilities though. But again, it's just not that effective against air, and that's the biggest weakness that UNSC already suffer from. I feel because Wolverines suck ass. The best thing you can use is combat tech marines. Wolverines are just dog shit for some reason. I don't know why. Mixing the two combat tech marines with Wolverines is not too bad, I guess. But honestly, I think I've had more success with just combat tech marines with Nightingale. I think I've had more success with just that. So yeah, I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say she's D tier, probably at level 2 at D tier. I don't think she's completely bad to being 0 or nothing, but I think she's at rank 2 for power level. I don't know. Her powers are just not doing it for me. Decimus. I talked a little bit about him earlier about his banshees of his air banshees and stuff, how powerful they can get, and I think Decimus is one of the strongest banished heroes. He has one of the tankiest leaders for sure out of anyone. Can even rival Colony. Actually, I think his is probably tankier than Colony in the sense that it can survive a lot more or a lot longer because of his lifesteal capabilities. If he's not able to get a hit off, though, it could be a huge issue. But and he is a melee attacker. It's melee heroes can suffer too at times, but ultimately, he's so tanky. He does a lot of damage. He has CC stuns. His leader is really overpowered. He's got very insane passives. His Decimus drop is not bad at times. You basically always have 130 pop in a battle because you can call on Decimus at any time. He's pretty strong too, Decimus. He's got those 6 giant beams. Not really that useful apart from huge offensive raids against a base or something. But yeah, he could cause a massive amount of destruction very quickly though. With him having the extra damage of extra passive damage and the active damage was the active fury or something, I forget what it's called, but it's he can have more damage that way. He has the siphon steals. Yeah, he's really good. I think Decimus, with all his strengths, I don't think he gets up to S tier. I do think he is an A tier, though. I think he's an 8 for power level. He is very strong. Enjoyability. I think I have a little bit more fun with him than Vortis or Cassano. I'd say level 6 though. I don't think I have more fun with him than any of these 3 here. Well, Alright, actually, I'm gonna move. Yeah, I'm gonna move Isabel back. I'm gonna move her to 5. Because I don't have more fun with Isabel than just Decimus. So I think that's a good spot for her, actually. Yeah, I definitely don't have more fun than... I have more fun with Serena than Decimus. I have more fun with Decimus than Isabel, so that's why I moved her back 2 level. So she's level 5 for everything, for enjoyability. Alright. So next we go to another UNSC leader. Big Poppy Jerome. So, what can I say about Jerome? He's got a powerful leader. He's got a Mantis draw, which is really good. He's got insanely good passes. Giving a more, I think it's like damage reduction or armor or something like that when he's below a certain amount of pop, which, of course, you don't want to only have 60 pop the whole game, but, you know, it is great when your army does get wiped. And you can still have a pretty strong force with 60 pop, so, you know, he's pretty good for that aspect. He's got, his drops are one of the best things in the game. Being able to drop in 3 like, badass Spartans, being able to hijack 3 vehicles, or just being able to just stay in a fight much longer with all 3 of those leaders. The guy has 5 leaders. His inspiration thing is really good. In a one-on-one, he's not entirely that great. In a 2v2, 3v3, that's where he really excels. I think he's a fantastic support. Amazing support with all his inspiration that he gives to his allies that go more damage boost, or I'm not sure if it's like damage boost. It does say he gets buffed. I forget in what aspect. I think it's like, I think it's more of like their ability side, I think. But it definitely makes a huge difference, especially when you combine him with like fucking Forge, dude. Oh my god, it is nuts. He can make some ridiculous like combinations. You mix his Mastodons with Combat Tech Marines in them, mixing them with fucking Forge, dude. You're oh god dang son, you're fucking ripping shit up. He can make some insanely overpowered. He has his chemistry, his build has a lot of room with chemistry. Basically, can be very well fitted with Forge, Johnson, Colony in some aspects. I mean, he's a great fucking leader. He's a great support. I think he's not too high on his own, but with a team, oh my mother of God, he does a lot more. He's a great support. Having Combat Tech Marines and a Mastodon's amazing. Putting Nightingales on top of that, he's very good. His powers aren't too great against air, but he does have Combat Tech. Like you're gonna use Combat Tech Marines and those Mastodons, so you get that extra healing and anti-air guns, rockets. I mean, from them. So that's always a thing you gotta look at. Yeah, I think Jerome does his job. Jerome does amazing with all his drops, all his like inspiration he gives to his team. It's amazing. His victory turrets, his garbage thing is also really strong. When he needs to use that, he can use that. His leader itself is really good, and I mean, especially since they have fucking 5 leaders technically, that's really good. I mean, shit. Not much else to really say about him. He's a very good. I think he would be at like B tier on his own, but with a team, it could go from anywhere from A to S. Honestly, for me, I think with some of his drawbacks being solo, I don't think it's as good as Decimus, but with a team, I definitely think he can make his way to 7. I think it's pretty fair to him. I think on his own and his slight weakness to air, I think he does suffer a little bit more than a lot of people against air, just because there's not much. I mean, he's gonna have Combat Tech Marines, and his Jerome and Mantis do a lot to air, or really just anything. But I just think he doesn't have that many like huge air wiping abilities though. But he does make his way to 7, I think. I think he does a great job at being a support. On his own, it'd probably be like right here at like level 5 or so. Here, I'd say he's like around 6 or 7. I think he's like around this tier. I just don't think it's as good as Decimus though. Enjoyability though, I didn't get to that part yet. So enjoyability for him, I think enjoyability would have to go. Honestly, run on par with Decimus. I don't have as much fun with him as Serena, but I think that's a good spot for him. I'm gonna make it a little bit easier to see where I actually have their enjoyability thing at. Like, she's at like 5, so I'll just about there. Okay. So yeah, they're about the same for me. For enjoyability and greatness, I just think Decimus's passives and actives definitely outshine what Jerome can do. But Jerome with like the good matchup, like forwards, like I said before, is just amazing. Um. Hmm. So next guy we gotta talk about. Let's talk about Atriox, the icon of the Banished, right? Atriox is one of the hardest guys to rank for me. Not because he's bad, it's because he's insanely good. He's practically got 3 immortality abilities he can use. One that they just give him either insane healing, gives him just invulnerability in general, or something. He also has a nuclear bomb, which is his eradication. He's got giant ass laser. He's got stronghold, which gives him the ability to build a base very early on because he can just upgrade his stronghold ability or passive pretty early on in the game, and make his bases insanely tanky in like 3 minutes in the game. His leader is also one of the heaviest hitting characters in the entire game, if not the heaviest hitting. That includes I think his character rivals the damage of a fucking condor. It hits like a goddamn freight train, dude. Does so much fucking damage, it's unreal. Especially if he's level 3, that motherfucker is slapping cheeks. Like, I think a couple shots could destroy a Wraith. It's fucking nuts how much that guy does. His Aatrox Chosen is insane. He can very quickly be taken down by ramming and flamers and snipers and shit, but like, if you're careful with him though, and you just use him for poking damage against the enemy, that motherfucker's hitting hard. A vulture will kind of cry when he sees that thing. His Chosen is amazing, absolutely insane. Yeah, his bulwark ability, his undying breath, they're all like fucking insane. All his abilities are really fucking insane. His hero is insane. I kind of want to put him on the same level as Decimus, actually. I just think because of Decimus's passives, I do think passives that are as good as Decimus do outshine a little bit over Aatrox's amazing actives. However, his leader is what keeps him on par with Decimus, I'd say. His leader's just... Dude, he hits like a fucking train. It's unreal. I get worried every single time I see that motherfucker because he is so damn powerful. He's like Colony, but the exact opposite. Like, in the sense that, like, Colony's known for his insane tankiness, but he's known for his insane damage. So, it's fucking insane. I love it, though. I just don't think it's as good as Vortis, because Vortis is he's just fucking broken as fuck, as I said earlier. So, my man Johnson. What can I say about Johnson? Bunkers, amazing. Mechs, amazing. His Cyclops are better than anyone else's because of the mech overcharge. But you're not using it for that. You're using it for Mantises mainly because they're good against pretty much everything. I think if I remember correctly, the only thing they kind of struggle against is, really just other frontline tanks. But that's where the Colossus comes in. So, the Colossus is a heavily armored giant mech unit, and it can stomp. It does a huge stunning ability when it does that. It's insanely damaging / tanking. It has a huge tanking potential. I think they're on par, if not better, than the Grizzlies. I'd say on par. He has siphon turrets, which is really good as well. I think Johnson. I'd probably say Johnson is. Hmm. In comparison to his other Unity counterparts, I think out of all of them that are here right now, I want to say he's probably the best out of all of them. Digging in the deep also allows him to build for free on base slots and shit. His bunkers are just insane. His hero itself is insane with healing and really anything. Johnson's hero itself doesn't really fall flat on any caliber. He just doesn't. He just doesn't do as well as the banished leaders. But as far as UNSC leaders go, he's pretty up there. I think he's like the second or third best, I'd say. Especially since he's also a great support. Johnson's a great like tank / support character to have on your team. Like he's great for the frontline approach, while also being very great for defense, while also being great for supporting. I say he does suffer a bit on the offense side, but with all his other attributes, I think I could come to a conclusion that he is probably at S tier. I don't think he's definitely not as good as Lourdes, but I think with all his attributes, with him being able to support his team very effectively, with him being able to, well, he has a stronger base of siphon turrets. He has the great healing. He's a great healing / tank / defensive character to have on your team. He can easily contest with every base on the map because of digging in the deep. Doesn't cost anything for him, so it's pretty much just amazing for contesting the whole map. Yeah, Johnson has a lot of attributes that makes him, I'd say, S tier. I was thinking A tier, but I think because of digging in the deep alone, just because of how much he can contest with that, makes him just amazing. Enjoyability. I love playing Johnson. He reminds me of he's kind of like the Unity version of Pavium. Very defensive and tanky play style. But succeeds at it a bit better, I'd say. In the sense of, well, just being able to have such great units. Because his Colossus is just amazing. Especially with the fact that he can just be immortal with the mech overcharge ability, which is amazing. Yeah, I think he sits there. He's also a very good, like, super turtle character for both breaking and defending. Like, he's great for defending if you're trying to do a super turtle game. He's great in the aspect, like, he'll be able to hold his own for a while. And he's also great at breaking as super turtle if someone else is trying to do it. So, yeah, I think Johnson's amazing for that caliber. Shipmaster. I'm not good at Shipmaster, I'll be honest. But I've seen people play with him a lot, and they're good. They're good with Shipmaster. So, I think because of all the things that Shipmaster could do, I will say Shipmaster's ranking on the power scale depends on the player. If it's a unexperienced, now this kind of goes for anyone really, but it's a little bit different with Shipmaster. If it's an uncoordinated, not experienced Shipmaster, it could go in D tier. If it's a coordinated Shipmaster that knows what he's doing, has communications with his team to use abilities when needed, like the displacement, you can just displace them into like a Aatrox's ability or something, like the eradication. If he is that coordinated, S tier. So Shipmaster's a little bit weird with that. I think on average, though, if we're talking about experienced players and non-experienced, I think he would have to fit in between. Uh, Again, he has great potential to go to S. I'm not even kidding. He can go to S very easily. If it's a very experienced and very communicative shipmaster, I can see him even going past Vortis in some aspects because of the fact that he has so many teleports. He's very hard to fight with displacement, with his own gateway ability, with his retreat teleport. He is very unpredictable of what he's gonna fucking do. And even if you can predict what he's gonna do, a lot of times you might not be ready for it. Shipmaster can it go anywhere from S to D tier. I'm not even kidding. He is the weirdest character because it really depends on the player and his team. So that's kind of why I place my B tier. But just know he definitely can go in S. Definitely, no doubt. Um, it really is dependent on communications, for sure. Because if you can like get so coordinated to the point that you can displace a enemy player's army, and then have Aatrox have his eradication already set in the destination where he's got to teleport them to, it's overpowered as almighty fuck. I mean, it's nuts how this character can or cannot scale. He also has Mass Cloaking, which is also really insane. I just think I'll actually put him in low A tier because he can do a lot on his own, even for a low average player. Because he can even contest nodes pretty well. But again, it's really dependent on the player and communications and a team. It's very dedicated to that. If you can actually get all those aspects, I could see him going S++, like no doubt, because he is insane, very unpredictable in what he's gonna do. And even if you can't, like I said, even if you can predict what he's gonna do, you might not be ready for it. So, yeah, very, very difficult character to master, but one of the most has some of the highest potential for one character, I'd say. It just takes a lot to master, and you need friends to communicate with, I think, to be played at the most effective way possible. Next, with that all out of the way, we have Arbiter. Well, actually, let's go to Unit C again. Go back and forth. So we got Anders, which has, Douglas, has the Super Sentinel, has great passes for Sentinels, has Siege, Siege can shoot out like little Sentinel dudes, attack everything around them. So for Anders, I'm not exactly sure where to place Anders. I want to say, oh boy, I don't know. Anders is a tricky one. Very good for siege defending. Very good for contestment over nodes and certain bases. Outside of that, has a great. Her Sentinel Retriever is pretty good. I don't know. I I just don't think her powers are really that good, I guess. When you compare them to everyone else on this list, I think they're pretty underwhelming. Like I said, Her Super Sentinel and her Siege being on the Fire Out Sentinels is great. But outside of that, Unit C already have a huge problem with being able to defend comparatively to Banish, as they have no shields on their base or cloaking. And she's a character that more likely thrives on defensive playstyle. I think she would have to go in. I want to say B tier, to be honest. As much as that might offend people. Because I know people love Anders, and hell, I love playing her. But I don't know. I want to put her in. Okay, I'll actually say this. I would probably put her at B tier. I think she rivals these two characters here. I just don't think her potential for supporting is as good as Jerome's or Johnson. Her frontlineness isn't as great as, well, Johnson, Jerome, Decimus, like really anyone up here. Her leader is good. Douglas is good. Her Sentinel's good. It's just, she also has shielded turrets, I believe. But outside of those few things, like I said, she's great for turtling. That's about it, though. And I don't know. I just don't think she goes as high as anyone else. Enjoyability, I'd have to play more Anders to get a better answer for you. But I think for now, I'll have to leave her there. But enjoyability, I do like her a lot. I'll put her about the same as... No, I'll put her at where Isabella is, roughly at the same spot. I think I might enjoy her a little bit more than Isabella. But I think, for all things considered, I think she is at the same spot. Let me just... There, we can kind of see him a little bit better. Yeah, I think she's at this. I think she's at B tier. I don't know. I haven't really seen that many Anders players really pop off either. Apart from defense. And again, I feel like Banishes do a better job at that because of their shielded base. Their blisterbacks are... No, actually, no, blisterbacks aren't as... I don't think they're as good as Siege, are they? The Kodiaks. I don't think their Siege is better. But... I don't know. I just think... her Kodiaks and defenses that she gets... Like I said, they are good for sure. I don't think I can see them going much higher than what I said, though. Alright. Arbiter. Arbiter is a very... He's one of the least character... Like, he's a character I hardly ever pick up. His Phantoms, with his Elite Enforcer dudes and Engineers, Shrouds, can make him a very deadly opponent, though. I think... I have to see a little bit more from Arbiter. I think all things considered, though, I think he might be low A tier. He does have the stasis thing, I forget what it's called. I think it's stasis, actually. I'm not really sure. You get stasis like all units in a certain area, which is really good. His abilities are very underwhelming, though. I think Arbiter's Conduct of Rage is really strong. That might be a potential to go into a higher tier, but I'll have to see more from him. I just don't play him that much. I haven't seen him that much. I haven't seen him like really do a whole lot. But all things considered, I think he does go in A tier. I just don't think he does excel over anyone else up here, really. I didn't even talk about enjoyability for these two. I just now realized. So for Arbiter's case, I think he's one of the lowest guys for me for enjoyability. I'd have to place him at like, yeah, that tier. I never play him. I do not like playing him. I find him incredibly boring. Shipmaster, I find a little bit more enjoyable, but not by much. I'd say he's around like 3 or 4. Aatrox, I have a lot of fun with. I'd say he's around 7 and 8. Around the same level as Serena. I like him a lot with his powerful leader and abilities. It's really good. Alright. So we just talked about Arbiter. Now let's go to Cutter. Cutter is also an interesting one. He has a lot of drops. He has a lot of reinforcements he can call in at any point in time. A full pop Cutter is pretty terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. Because of the fact that he has so many drops he can place in as well. I mean, he's got the Cyclops drop, he's got a turret drop, he's got ODST. I think he has 2 different ODST drops. I think it's like one's like a sniper team and one, unless, am I thinking of the mod? Ooh, I don't know. I know he has ODST drops. He has a fire, I think he has like a Hellbringer drop too, doesn't he? He has a lot of drops. I don't even remember them all because there's so fucking many of them. He has a close air support, which gives him like 4 Pelicans. I just know he has a shit ton of drops. I think everything he has is a drop. So, like, yeah, he could call in a lot of reinforcements. So even if you take out like half his army, oh, he has like half of it back already because of all his damn drops. Which is what makes him so terrifying. But he doesn't have any good, like, other than drops though, he doesn't really have that many good like passives. Not really that insane units. His ODSTs are okay. The ODSTs are very powerful against buildings and tanks. They're not good against air though. I think there was a video, I don't know who posted, it might have been Team Respawn though, where they had like a comparative test with ODSTs and Marines against air. ODSTs sucked against air comparatively. So, and air is a bigger problem with UNSC. I think he is probably B tier. Probably low B tier. Yeah, I'd probably say he's like right here. I think everyone else here is pretty much better than him. I have to see more from him to place him in a higher tier. But from what I know about him, from what I've seen of him, I'd probably place him there. Still good, though. Enjoyability. You have a little bit of fun with him. I'll place him in Isabella's tier. I like him a lot, but I just like to banish a lot more in this game than Unicy typically, so. Yep, the Destroyer. This one's a trick one. He's got great anti-air. Amazing anti-air. Banisher already don't have much trouble with anti-air, but he also has his grunts that can help the Reavers out even more. He's got shield drone, like he's got shield drops. He's got turret drops. He's got a please don't shoot me card for like 20 to 30 seconds. His leaders are also insane. He's got the methane wagons, which buff his grunts even more. He's got free grunts he could spam. Oh boy, this is tricky. Oh my god. I don't know. Yap Yap's probably the hardest one to rate. I don't think his armies are like super insane. However, his support capabilities are out of this world. Um, I want to place him at A plus. I think he's in the same tier as Decimus and Aatrox. He might even be S. I don't know. In certain situations, he would be S. For anything that requires a massive amount of healing, S. Yes, definitely. I'll place him in A though. The only drawback is that I just don't see him as good as who's up there. Uh I think for enjoyability he would be about here. I think about like between 4 and 5. Um Let me just make them a bit smaller. Yeah, so I think that's where he would go. There's a lot of people in A tier, but I think a lot of people do fit in the same caliber, really, in this game. Which is why I did have the number system as well, to kind of divert different power levels. So, yeah, I think that's where he would probably go. I just think his healing is insane. Uh, I think his healing is absolutely nuts, though. Um, I can't really say anything else besides that, though. When he's got like insane methane wagons, like I said earlier, his drops are great. Like he can cover a base with his shield. It just block turrets all over it. So he's great for defense. He's great for offense. He can make it very hard for you to do anything, just because he could practically build a base around you and capture all his units inside his shield domes. And even when they falter, he has the healing from his grunt mechs. So he's a pain in the ass to deal with, especially since he has free units at the beginning of the game too. Yeah, I think he's A tier. I don't think he's as high as the P1S, but and let me just note again that Shipmaster definitely could be an S. I'm just gonna note that again. It just depends on the player, but because of between the average player and a great player, I had to place him at A basically, because he could go anywhere from D to S. It's a little bit, like I said before, there's a little bit more to him than any other character. With it comes a skill. It needs to be very communicative with Shipmaster's abilities as well to make the best use of them. So we just talked about Rebellion. Some of my boy Forge. Forge, without a fucking doubt, S tier. Not even close. Like, not as I still don't think he's as good as Vortis, because like I said, he's busted as fuck. However, Johnson Sergeant Forge is nothing shorter than fucking legendary. He's got, I mean, remember back then in the Leader Overhaul mod when I said that I would love to say Forge just, fucks everything? Well, guess what? In this game, Forge, S tier, fucks everything. Hell yeah. And I can actually say that. And I love that. Forge is I'd probably say the best UNSC leader you can get. I put Johnson in the same tier as him, but I do think Forge is better than Johnson. I think Forge, with his amazing Grizzlies, with his heavy armor, with his leader on top of that, dude is a fucking walking machine of armor. He is just nothing but walking armor on the field. His Grizzlies with heavy armor on is practically fighting an army of scarabs. They are so god fucking tanky, it's ridiculous. Cause fucking hell, Forge buffs his Grizzlies when he's near them in his aura. Mixing that with heavy armor, they feel just as tanky as a goddamn fucking scarab. He's so powerful. So fucking powerful, it's unreal. Forge is... That's all I gotta say. His Grizzlies make the kid. His Grizzlies are nuts. The one weakness he does have is air, because his Grizzlies are slow as shit. So I could definitely see some counterplay to him because of that. But he does have the Pelican. You definitely want to get that Pelican online as fast as you can because of that alone. And you want some combat tech Marines to fight alongside the Grizzlies, just so they have a measure. Just so they have support for healing and for air. Just ignore Wolverines if you can, because combat tech Marines with Nightingales with Grizzlies on top of that will do you way better. And some Warthogs. Warthogs are not that bad either. Get some Warthogs in there too. But Forge can bring back his tanks even when they die with his one ability. I forget what it's called, but he can bring them back when they die. He's got the Cart Bomb, which is actually pretty effective in this game. Still not too great, but it is powerful. Yeah. I mean, he's the armored behemoth that we always wanted. And he's in this game, and he's ready to fuck shit up. He is the walking mammoth in this game when it comes to durability. And for enjoyability, I'm actually gonna move Johnson back because of this. I have to move Johnson to 8 because I enjoy Forge a lot more than Johnson. Sorry, Johnson. No offense, but them Grizzlies, son. Them Grizzlies. They are busted as fuck. I love it. Really, the main thing that's going to kill Forge is a combination of powers and leaders. Fighting his army up front is very challenging. If you don't have air or something, you need to have something very specific that counters him, and it's hard to really find that either. If he has a good balance of combat tech Marines, Grizzlies, Nightingales, and some Warthogs in there, with his Forge leader also being very powerful and hard to kill, he is very insane. He has that EMP from his Goshawk as well. He is nuts. Really hard to fight. Yeah. Forge does a lot, and that's why he goes there. Speaking of durability, let's talk about the most durable fucking Banished leader now. Colony. A lot of the same aspects as Forge, but escalated into a higher tier. I think he's at the same tier as fucking Vortis. The reason why he is my favorite is because he's very easy to use. Not only that, but I love hunters. I've always loved hunters. And his hunter captain, Jesus Mother of God. He is so hard to kill. He literally has a taunt ability just to say, "Hey, shoot me, cause I won't fucking die," and he won't die. Yeah, he does not give a single fuck. Does not give a single fuck at all. He is ridiculously tanky. I don't know if you can place like heavy armor on him. I don't think so. But I know for a fact he could have like inspirational boost from Jerome on him, I believe. So if you can make him even better with that, then holy shit. His Hunter Captain alone would probably put him at like fucking B or A tier. Just as Captain alone, he is so fucking insane. Especially when you have two Skitters on him. He has so much fucking health. He might as well be a Scarab. At level 1, he's a Scarab, pretty much. Combat repair, I mean, dude, he is so ridiculously tanky. He's got a huge ass shield. Has a huge ass HP pool. He has a siphon with his basic attack, which is a constant beam of DPS, which he just, he has a lifesteal ability with that. He has the engineer swarm, so even when he gets into trouble, oh, he's got engineers to heal him. Oh, he also has Hunter Brand to protect him. Oh, he also has walls that can fucking protect him as well. If he needs to retreat, oh, he can just use a wall and get away from you. If you have ground anyway. Yeah. This guy is fucking nuts. His kit is very basic, but it's very overpowered. I still think Vortis is stronger just because of the bandit raid, but I do think he does capture the level 10 power creep because of his durability alone. While he's also being banished, he also has the best counter units because of him being banished. His hunters, hunters are already pretty strong. Putting Skitters on top of that is just nuts. Saves him resources while also making his army a lot more durable. He also has very powerful wraiths because he can have Skitter wraiths, which are just nuts. Because that's the one thing that banished do lack in is high durable tanks, because their tanks aren't as tanky as a Scorpion, for instance. But with Skitters, yeah, they can be. He also has some of the best drops in the game with Devastating Host, and the Colony drop, which allows him to build in throw in 40 plus units of pop. And they're all high tier ranks as well. Yeah. And he also has the best Scarab in the game. Even at level 0, it is insanely hard to kill, requiring a shit ton of damage / powers to spam on it to kill it effectively. Yeah. This motherfucker also oh yeah, that's the one thing I forgot too. Battle Harden also makes it to where he has to kill far less units to gain experience and get levels from. Which means a Scarab being level 1 or 2 is very likely, and when they get to level 3, it's practically a walking juggernaut that's never going to go down. No matter what. And you basically lost at that point. I think it's a level 3 Scarab. The only way if you win is if you just throw everything you possibly have at it, and you might have a chance of taking it down. But at that point, you probably will lose so much even trying. So, yeah. Ultimately, Colony is the best because of his potential of durability. His potential is redonkulous. Has so much durability, has so much... He's simple to play, too. He's very easy to play. Any beginner player can grab him and do well with him. Even a new player could probably still use him and be effective to the point that he would probably be able to beat anyone in B tier. Yeah. Colony is amazing. Colony is a one-of-a-kind juggernaut type of character, and he is well befitting of S+, because of how powerful he really is. Just because of all his durable aspects that he does have with his Skitters, his engineer swarm, his walls, his leader himself. Yeah. And the potential of his HP pools for his units is also a lot higher than anyone else's because of those skitters. Putting two skitters on a hunter, putting three skitters on a scarab, putting skitters on a fucking wraith. Yeah, it's very good, very good. Putting them on reavers is also really good. I've done that many times because reavers also are very weak. Getting skitters on them makes them a lot better, making them a lot tankier, making them do a little bit more damage. Is also very effective. I've been able to get level 3 skitters, level 3 reavers very effectively with him, which is insane because a few of them at level 3 can easily drop a condor in relative seconds. Yeah. I don't like him because of his overpoweredness. I just love him because of the Juggernaut side that he has. But I do think that he does go in S+ because of it. Whether that's because I just had a lot of good experience with Colony, or if he is actually just that good, you can let me know. I do think, however, Vortis is still the best. And if it wasn't obvious, Colony is by far my favorite character in the entire game. Not even close. I love playing Colony. I love playing Colony. Him, Pavium, and Forge are definitely my favorite characters in this game. Along with Serena. Serena's probably my fourth favorite. Then Johnson. I love playing Serena. I'm not really good with Serena, but I just love playing with Serena's kit. It's just really fun. Yeah, this was the longest tier list I've probably done in a long time, especially for Halo Wars. Like I said, this list isn't going to be as accurate, I don't think, as my leader overhaul list, as I'm not as familiar. And still need to practice with some of these leaders, as I don't have as much experience as other players do with them. If any of you have any suggestions of where people should have went, please leave it down in the comments, because I love to read that type of shit, and I will definitely reply and see if you're an idiot or not. No, I'm kidding. No, I definitely want to listen to what you guys have to say about it. And of course, it is a tier list, so we're always gonna have disagreements. So, but this is based off of my experience and what I've seen in the actual game. So, without any further ado, thank you for listening to this whole thing. This was a long video. A lot of thought went into it because I had to take 2 parts for this one because it was just so long. And yeah, I'm trying to see if I skipped anyone else wrong or not. Any correctional things I want to make? Yeah, but you can definitely see where I place everyone, though, like how Unicy are generally just smaller in comparative. Like, the only Unicy leaders that make it up to beyond A is, well, like the only people that are in A and S for Unicy is Jerome, Johnson, and Forge. Everyone else is below them. The only Banished leader that's like worse than A and S is Pavium. It's just because their leaders and powers are just so much more, they're just way stronger than the Unicy counterplay. And Shipmaster could easily take the spot for Pavium, Vortis in Colony. He could definitely go into like rank 11 or 12 if you have good fucking coordination with your allies. I mean, he's insane for how much he can do. The best way I could describe Shipmaster is that he is the master of control. And that's why he can and cannot be, like, he could easily be in D, he could easily be at S. It's just dependent on the player especially. I think he's one of the most skilled leaders to use. requires the most to use because of the fact that he does have a weaker leader. He has a weaker early game, but his late game potential. I don't even think he has a weak early game. Really, he just has a weak leader. He's just only capable of like scouting and whatnot. But like, he's just really. He really requires a lot of skill and a lot of time to master. But I think with that note, though, this is probably going to be the only tier list I do for Halo Wars 2. Yeah. I'll be doing one more tier list for Halo Wars 1 sometime. Not sure when. I did say the last Halo Wars 1 was going to be my official last, but I want to do a correctional video on that one because I did mess up a few things. And I'll explain all that in greater detail in that video. But for this one, this is the only video this is the only tier list I'll be doing for Halo Wars 2. If you guys enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like. Please make sure to leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. This is Legendary Founding Titan signing off. Peace.